Hi guys, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. We are looking today at the ELIOS 2 with Flyability and Raptor UAS. My name is George Burne. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Junio from Flyability. Junio, do you just want to say a quick hello?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, George. Great to be part of Coptrz and looking forward to Anna's presentation. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And then Anna as well from Raptor UAS. Do you just want to say hello?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me and for having Raptor today and giving us the opportunity to show how we are using ELIOS 2 in our work scope.
Fantastic. So yeah, today, well, this afternoon's webinar, we've done a lot today, but this one in particular is always a good one to look, and I look forward to it as well, because it's not just having a Coptrz representative, we've got a manufacturer, but we've also got an end user, and if you don't mind me saying, a very successful end user. So without any further ado, I think we'll go straight into the slides, really. Just a bit of housekeeping as well. I think I'll pull this up. If anybody's got any questions on the webinar today, we've got a tab on the right. So of your screen that you're seeing, there's a chat section, there's a question section. So if you can just let us know that you can hear us. I think sound quality's a-okay, where my team is working hard in the background. Everything should be fine. But if you've got any questions, what we'll do is we'll save them all for the end, and we will test Junio's knowledge, but also fire some Anna's way as well. So yeah, you can really ask what you want, really, and we'll go from there, really. So moving on to what we'll cover today, we've got the drone inspection industry. So we're going to look at essentially what that's made up of, what the ELIOS 2 is used in, and essentially what the ELIOS 2 is. You know, it's an internal drone, very niche, very specific, but being used for a wide range of uses and applications. And then we're going to move on to Raptor UAS. So we're going to go on to what Anna is looking at, what she's working on at the moment, some really exciting jobs. We spoke just before about a job that I think Anna said she was using 20 batteries, was that, in a single job, which is tremendous. So it's really exciting work going on at the moment. And then following that, we're going to go back to Junio, and we're going to start looking at Inspector 3.0, which is their tremendous new software, which is really, and I think you'll totally agree, really taking not just the ELIOS users, but the drone industry by storm, and what can actually be produced in terms of both a model and a sizable diagram of what you've just entered and explored. Obviously, we'll also look at packages and what could be purchased. Obviously, today is all about, and this next couple of weeks is all about education. We're all looking to educate the industry, but also educate the wider industry to bring more and more users into the drone world. So we'll keep it as much focused on the application, the use cases as much as possible. I don't want to bore people too much, but in terms of pricing, if anybody has any further questions on bespoke packages, by all means, come through to us at the end through the Q&A. Yeah, I think that'll be time for the pub after the Q&A. But so we'll start now quickly with some of the current customers we're currently working with and currently championing the ELIOS 2 around, not only around the UK, but around the world. We've got the likes of EDF Energy, Severn Trent, Magnox, Yorkshire Water. Now, these are some large asset-owning companies, people who are using them for utility specific jobs, culvert inspections, looking to do identification in these confined spaces. And then you've also got the likes of your nuclear sites, so Magnox, Sellafields, and even Costain and Babcock's. And I'm sure Anna will go through some really cool applications with exactly how they're being used, because really they are, you know, pretty groundbreaking in what the ELIOS 2 can do. Quickly, before we go into too much detail, what they are kind of being used for. Obviously, mentioned the nuclear side, but oil and gas is still a huge area that not only drones, but the ELIOS 2 specifically are using them in. We got the power gen side as well. So nuclear plants, heat recovery, steam generators, waste incinerators, any sort of area where scaffolding or rope access or getting to as a traditional method would really struggle. And then obviously you've got the more common construction, utility and maintenance. And I think what you'll find is the ELIOS 2 has got a magnitude of applications, and you can apply it to lots of different things. And over to Anna. I think that's all I need to say. I think what the big thing for today is to look at some of the real use cases for what is going on at the moment. And I think this is exactly what we want to do, and this is to showcase Raptor UAS. So Anna, over to you.
Thanks very much, George. So a little bit of myself. I'm graduated in naval architecture and engineering. I have worked across Europe and also Asia. I've been participating in amazing projects from shipbuilding of aircraft carriers over to offshore wind in Taiwan. And I am a certified, qualified international welding engineer. I also hold various ISO 9712 MDT certification, and I am a certified coding inspector and a Raptor rope access technician, and am I also qualified to fly drones. If we can move to next slide, George.
Yeah, fantastic. Just on that as well, Anna, what qualifications do you got at the moment? Is it still the PFCO that you're using, or especially with the ELIOS 2, what sort of qualifications are you holding for that?
Yeah, we are still using I mean, we have a PFCO because obviously we are a operator for drones. We don't only fly the ELIOS, but we understand that the aviation authority regulations are not applicable for confined spaces. However, the way that we see to fly drones and to make actually drones usable for inspection is to have qualified engineers or qualified inspections on the jobs. So we always try to balance drone pilots, qualified drone pilots that we are also training in our indoor flight simulator that I will be speaking a bit at the end of the presentation today. And at the same time, we have an engineer always on site relevant to the inspection that we are carrying out at that moment.
Fantastic.
So about us, we were founded in Raptor UAS. We were founded in 2017. We are striving to become a global leader in digital asset management using drones and artificial intelligence. We are using drones on all those locations or those work scopes that we deem the best, actually, where we think that the drones are the best to be used. And we are eliminating the need for confined space entry and working at height. So for us, I was speaking briefly before with George and Junio before we started the webinar. And as I said before, I've been participating on different webinars with Coptrz and with Flyability before. And I really like it. We are really pleased that we are invited and we can actually present what we are doing and how we are using the ELIOS 2. And actually, we love the ELIOS 2. It's something that is a drone that we, every time that we use, we still get amazed and we really love it. So for us, the main or the principal goal for us is to choose the best drone, and that is the best suitable for the work scope that we have. On the ELIOS 2, we can work with the sensors, we can work with the distant logs, providing a very smooth flight and a better data collection. So we ensure that all the data that we are collecting during that inspection, it can be used and it can help our customers to make educated decisions on their assets. At the same time, using features as the POI that is mentioned there, that is the point of interest, it allows us to a quicker data review afterwards using the inspector software that I believe that Junio will be speaking afterwards.
Brilliant. Yeah, you obviously also mentioned the ELIOS 2 having sort of pilot skills. What do you do as a company, I know obviously Coptrz and Flyability offer training on that. But what do you do internally just to keep sharp? Because obviously you've mentioned 100% pilots. What do you do to keep on top of your game?
So what we have actually developed, we just brought it up, I think it was a couple of months ago, we have an indoor flight simulator. We are using it together with our partner company as a confined space training facility. So we do have a kind of circuit that we have to fly the ELIOS through. And as we have a big office right now, we can actually have kind of a playground on the ELIOS and get used, actually, because I think it's very challenging. Most of the drone pilots out there are very used to fly looking at the drone all the time, and suddenly when actually you're outside the confined space, the drone is inside the confined space and you cannot see it, you still need to achieve the inspection and be able to do it. So we are basically training around our facilities, and obviously having our indoor flight simulator, it's been fantastic for us to keep us up to date and very skilled with the ELIOS.
Fantastic.
So for us, this is basically a quick introduction on the ELIOS 2 and how the built-in features that it allows us to work with. So it has oblique lighting, which was a fantastic improvement from the first version of ELIOS. It's completely dust-proof. We are sometimes flying in very dusty environments, and actually we are still allowed or able to collect very clear, with high resolution, high quality image data. The oblique lighting also has 3D details as the pitting or any cracks. It has a 4K video with a very good resolution, and it allows for a permanent record of the inspection that we are carrying out, which can then be reviewed and processed using inspector software. And then the most important for us is definitely that there is no visual line of sight between the pilot and the drone, and it can be used inside confined spaces without damaging the assets or actually without causing any injuries to humans that it can be working on the same space as us. And it still has that part of, okay, we don't need to access a confined space, we don't need to work at height, which is definitely a fantastic way of improving safety.
Brilliant, yeah. Obviously, you mentioned about the oblique lighting, and the actual lighting around the drone, it truly is tremendous. I mean, it's 10,000 lumens of light. I mean, when you're going into some of these really dark environments, obviously like tanks, boilers, and so on, they'll be completely in darkness, really, Anna. And I mean, you'll need maximum light for your data quality. Do you find it gives you enough light to tell where you are?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, I mean, depending on the spaces that we are flying, for example, I will be also showing later today a tank that we've been working on that is a 51 meter diameter tank that I think is about a 20 meter high. There was some lighting on the ground level, but really it was just dark. You couldn't see anything there. And it's that part of are we going to be able, for us, we are absolutely confident that we are able to get all the data that we need with the quality that we are looking for. But some people are a bit, skeptical about it, but actually there is absolutely no issues on flying on very dark places and getting a still very good image. Even on the photos that they are showing in that presentation, so there is a leak on basically a pipe that has burst on a boiler, and it was very dusty. The environment wasn't great at all, but there wasn't any problem for the ELIOS actually to fly there, to identify, get some great imaging for the imagery for the client. And the same, that's also a short still of the tank, and it was, as I said, completely darkness there, but with ELIOS is not a problem at all.
Anything to add to that, Junio, at all?
I think really that Ana is really is really putting on the spotlight on, pun intended, on some of the best features of the ELIOS 2. The measurement, but perhaps the feature that is not listed here, it was mentioned before, but really does make a difference for a lot of welding experts, is the distance lock. That allows to follow, essentially for the front camera of the ELIOS to create a digital connection, a digital lock, really, for everything that is in front of the camera, anywhere between 30 centimeters and 2 meters, and it's perfect to follow latitudinally or longitudinally assets like welds or any sort of vertical structure. For instance, row bars that are or parts of the hangar, or confined structures in general, and it's very much appreciated by visual inspectors, because you can really follow along the lines of a structure like a weld with minimal input, and capturing incredibly high quality data.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's just getting that clarity and that regular image. Back to you, Anna.
Yeah, so for us, the main point on with the ELIOS is making accessible the inaccessible. For us, we fly the ELIOS 2 on any indoor environments, preventing any workers or any personnel to be working on hazardous places, to do confined space entry or working at height. It has the GPS-free stabilization, the distance lock that we've been discussing, and the oblique dust proofing light that is just enhancing the way of collecting data, making it safe and actually reliable for data collection.
Yeah, absolutely. And just even on that access and the inaccessible, there's and Junio will know exactly what I'm talking about here. That there's a video where 2 ELIOSes flew into a cave system, and that originally surfaced when the ELIOS 2 first came out. But the ability to send a robot into some of these areas in the earth where humans have literally never been before, and then get that robot out unfazed, basically, with some cracking data, great lighting, is incredible. You know, you were actually like modern day explorers to a certain extent. And when it comes to some of these more industrial assets, you really are the only way of getting in and out safely and securely, and to be fair, very quick.
Actually, not many people know this, but originally the design, the intent, the purpose of the ELIOS 1, or actually the gimbal, which is very much the grandfather of the ELIOS 2, was for spelunking and exploration. Then essentially someone came along and told the 2 founders, "Do you actually know that you can make money with this in industrial inspections?" And that's how they got started, by looking at slightly less attractive areas like tanks, stacks, and chimneys. But essentially that's how the product came about. And one of the very first tests of the ELIOS 2 before it was actually released was actually in Greenland, in a crevasse. It was a fantastic expedition. So it still has that Range Rover DNA, if you want, although obviously its bread and butter has quickly become everything related to industrial inspections.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even we've got plans here at Coptrz. There's an old mine just north of Leeds, where we're based here. What's the mine called? Creston Moor. Yes. So we're going to be taking up there, and we're going to be going into the top and then down through the bottom. And this is a place where a lot of rock climbing and abseiling happens. So we're going to get a real good application feel for what the ELIOS 2 can do, and it's right on our doorstep. It's just the problem with COVID and stuff. We need to really get some good content out there, and that'd be perfect for it.
Yeah, so we'll be introducing like few jobs that we have been carrying out recently, where we have found a fantastic application for the ELIOS 2. So this is a biomass stack. The client just rang us one day saying, okay, we have had an explosion, and the stack is not accessible or not safe to access. Now we need to, actually they needed to get people inside the stack, probe access technicians to repair, to carry out the repairs, but they didn't want them to access until it was actually safe to do so. So we mobilized on less than a day. We carry out the inspection, we identify the blockage. That's a picture of the blockage, and the other picture is just a panoramic from the top of the stack. And because we couldn't fly due to the blockage, we couldn't fly from all the way to the from the bottom. And yeah, it was a great way of actually finding finding the reason and also making it safe for the technicians to access.
Fantastic. So you flew from the top, is that right?
Yeah, we did part from the bottom, because from the bottom to the blockage, and then from the top to the blockage.
Brilliant. Great application.
Yes, definitely. And this is another example of how we are using the ELIOS. So this is for an energy from waste boiler. They can just put actually back in service after an outage, the boiler, but they had actually to have an emergency shutdown due to a tube leak. They have mobilized already rope access and scaffolding. However, due to the environment conditions inside the boiler, high temperatures, and also the deficient oxygen level, they couldn't enter the space. The run gas, they decided to bring the drone in, and within half an hour, we were able to identify actually the leak. They were suspecting the leak to be in two sides of the boiler, on the pass one and the pass two. But we quickly saw that actually the main problem was on the pass two. So they reduced the scaffolding need, saving them about £40,000. And also we gave them all the data that they needed for the repair. They identify the type of repair that they require. So it was, I think, actually they have contacted us back to implement the drone inspections as a standard inspection for their boilers every time that they come out of service. So yeah, it's always great to see how clients, they can also find another ways to use drones in their routine inspections.
Yeah, fantastic. So a traditional method would be to scaffold both sides, would it?
Yeah, they had everything ready actually, but because they couldn't access, so this is how we found just like the rust stain, and also you could see the damp. So we just flew up and find it, and then we processed it with the inspector. We gave them the measurements, they know perfectly, and the only way, as you said, the only way to access, otherwise it could have been scaffolding. So for them, it was just a great save of money. Otherwise, they could have had to scaffold both sides instead of just going ready for the repair.
Fantastic. Great use case again, Anna.
So this is, again, another way that we are finding how to use the drone. So sometimes you don't actually see an application until you start looking into it. This is just a hydrogen reformer, so it's basically from an air product supplier, and they are trying to implement drones, and they are exploring. They are already a client of us, but they are trying to see how else they can reutilize drones. They were actually scaffolding all the reformer for inspection, but what we were advising them is just to actually bring the drone in, check actually if it was any need for repair, and then once the repairs were identified, then go for repair if necessary, instead of just go for a full scaffold and try to save money and also time during the shutdown.
Fantastic. So money and time on that one. Brilliant.
Definitely. And on this case, it's again air products. So they are basically huge towers that they are taking air and just extracting nitrogen or extracting other gases, argon from the air. So because of the density, and because they are basically like cooling towers, they cannot be accessed on the ground because there is a high risk of actually low oxygen levels. So what we have actually done is just get the Helios down there and do an inspection. They haven't been inspected. As you can see, the state of them is terrible, a lot of coating breakdown, a lot of ice built up also. And it's giving them the option to have it inspected, to have control on their asset without actually having a person going down there on a confined space and with a risk of oxygen deficiency.
Fantastic. Junio, have you come across any similar applications over in Europe at all?
Well, the amazing thing is that basically until a few days ago, I didn't even know what a hydrogen reformer was. It sounded like something out of a Marvel comic book. And this is basically the second time in a couple of days that I come across this kind of asset. And we actually have I have in my slides later on a 3D model with Inspector 3.0 of a similar structure. This goes to show that we keep adding application and assets and industries to the Helios 2 that simply we didn't know before, and it's in great part thanks to companies like Raptor UAS. They keep trying, they keep really pushing the technology to its limit. So there's huge investments coming on board pretty much across the world on hydrogen, and we're just really excited to see that potentially this is an additional area of application that until thus far we hadn't really considered. It also goes to show for I guess some of the people that are attending, or most of the people that are attending, that intrinsically safe is not an issue, and in a lot of the environments where this is deployed, I would imagine, Anna, that there are intrinsically safe or ATEX restrictions, but still that can be worked around with very basic, simple procedures like a hot work permit.
Yeah, that's basically it. Sometimes a lot of people bring up the ATEX requirements when it comes to drones in general, not only for confined spaces, but also for external inspections. And at the end, if you are putting someone out there, it needs to be safe to a degree. So it's not going to be any different with a drone. For us, the good part on the drone is it can access when a human being cannot access, and also it gets the data much quicker. So as at the example before with the scaffold, building the scaffold, getting there, and then realizing, there is nothing here. It has cost a lot of money, a lot of time, that actually it was just done in 5 minutes flight. That was it. So it's just bringing that potential to our clients and showing them how they can improve all the maintenance and how they can use their money in a wiser way. So just try to do a better inspection, and then you do the maintenance as required.
Fantastic. That's really good content there. That's and it just goes to show how clear the Helios 2 is. I know you'll both agree, the Helios 1 with the cage rolling over the camera, the Helios 2's clarity and the ability to just capture really crisp, high quality imagery, and not only helps you, Anna, but also helps the end client in making those decisions. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. We had a meeting earlier today with another client that we are starting working with, and they were actually very curious about how the quality of the images would be, because we haven't done any inspections for them yet. But definitely they are exploring that option, but they want to know, because they are kind of, okay, you are flying inside, is dust, there is this, how you are gonna, so showing them like few videos and just few case studies that we have done and we've been working in, and they realize that actually the quality and the type of data, the value of the data that they are gonna get is something that will not achieve otherwise.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, a lot of the companies we've obviously dealt with in the past, it's all about, seeing is believing, because the data quality is just tremendous.
And again, it's to me the shocking part about sort of the value proposition is try to picture yourself or a human. Very often the term of comparison shouldn't be how long it's going to take me to do this with potentially another kind of drone with better battery life or more pixel on the camera, the only term of reference is either I'm not going to do this because I'm physically not able to access that area, or I have to use incredibly expensive, incredibly dangerous personal protective equipment, or incredibly time-consuming scaffolding or rope access. So sometimes it's not that there is the best possible choice. Sometimes it's really the only choice, and it's really opening the doors to a lot of possibilities in predictive maintenance, because inspections can be performed more often. You don't essentially have to get to the point where the boiler is leaking, but by performing more inspections more regularly, you can actually avoid this kind of emergency shutdown altogether. And we've had several experiences with that through several clients.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's a point of enhancing actually predictive maintenance rather than reactive maintenance. That because sometimes they can't just not afford the budget for doing an inspection. So sometimes it's just finding a shortcut actually to be still compliant, but do a half inspection. And sometimes even for the human, for me, like being an inspector myself, I know how tiring it is when you are actually looking at wells or tanks and it's just like a lot of it and a lot of surface, and actually flying to get that data, and then you are, even though you are flying and you are checking, then you have all that data to be reviewed at the office, which is, I think, a much better environment sometimes than being just, hanging on the rope or just on the scaffold, even though I'm a rope access technician also, so much rather be flying.
Yeah, it comes down to those big three: saving yourself time, saving yourself money, but then also increasing your safety. But yeah, no, crack on, Anna. Let's hear about the storage tank inspection now.
Yeah, so well, for me, as I said before, I am a tank assessor, so it makes we saw a great potential and the benefit of implementing the drones into the storage tank inspection, not only for the visual inspection of a structure that has in some cases never been performed due to the excessive cost or actually of building the scaffold, but also because it avoids all the cost of all the confined space entry and minimizes the cost of the inspection. So on this case that we have actually previously presented, the client identified just some sagging on the roof plates outside externally. They were not very sure about why or if it's been there forever because they didn't have any records. So they decided instead of a scaffold, just give a try. They were only actually trying at that time to get drones into the tanks and see how they were working. It was a complete success. We accessed the tank, and in one day, few hours, few flights, we checked all the roof structure. There was basically some misalignments, some missing bolts, a bit of foreign objects laying around the tank, and it could be easily identified. We're happy with it, no structural issues, and that actually put the tank back in service more or quicker than if they would have to have built a scaffold and the cost associated with it. So this is a video of, I think it's mixing two tanks here, but it's basically the type of inspections that we are normally doing on tank roofs. So it's just checking that all the cross bracing, that all the roof rafters are in good condition, that there is no misalignments, no missing bolts or not foreign objects where they should not be, or where actually they could be a potential drop objects, because within the tanks there are still works to be done on the floor level. So if there is anything dangerous, it's better for us actually to have a look first without accessing the tank, and then make it safe for anybody else to go inside. So yeah, it's just, you see a piece of rope, and sometimes it's very funny because these tanks, for example, this one was commissioned in 1962, and most of the times when you find things, you are always thinking about who actually left that there, and probably whoever was like building these roofs were never thinking that it would be a drone in 60 years time actually flying inside the tank and looking at a missing bolt that they didn't put on. So yeah, it's always great. And yeah, this is the also wells inspections that we do on the shell plates of the tanks. And it's absolutely clear. The images are fantastic, and these tanks are also pretty dirty because they still have like some residue from these are oil storage tanks. But the ELIOS is flying phenomenally there, and yeah, the results of the images are fantastic.
Fantastic.
So this was another application for the on a tank. The client has now implemented a standard internal roof inspection with the ELIOS. They also love the ELIOS, and what we have seen actually was that there were some well prints that they were from previous repairs that they were not compliant in accordance with the relevant standards. So they needed actually to carry some repairs or some reassessments on the tank. And we also found as on the bottom photograph, you can see that those are the roof rafters, so basically the main structure of the roof, that they've been cut out just to put some leveling sensors. That shouldn't have been done, but what we identified, it has never been identified before. We don't know for how long that has been like that, probably since construction. And then with that data, we could actually carry out a full simulation of the structure of the roof and evaluate if it was a structural sound or it needed any repairs.
Fantastic.
So yeah, just to sum up, basically for us, I think we are we missing one slide, George? Okay, Mike.
Yeah, we might have just had to cut it down slightly to fit everything in. There's so much information. Obviously, we want to quiz you at the end as well. So I think we've got to here now.
Yeah. So basically, for us, the benefit of carrying out the drone inspection for storage tanks is that we reduce the need of a confined space entry. We eliminate the need for scaffolders or inspectors to go inside. We reduce the time scale for the out-of-service inspections. We reduce the cost, and we are still 100% compliant. We not only have the visual data, but we are also actually taking ultrasonic thickness readings on the tank shells. So that makes a full assessment of the tank. We can perform that externally or internally, even when the tank is insulated. So that actually minimizes drastically the cost of having to remove the insulation just for inspection of the tank to have a compliant inspection.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it's exactly what we've been obviously speaking about. Is that it's a cost due to maybe not using scaffolding, but then also the safety side as well, and also the speed. I think that you can't really compete with that, really.
And the compliance as well, George, because a lot of people are often worried. This goes back to the quality of the data. We're getting more and more companies that are certifying this with class societies for offshore inspections. Lately, this has even been certified for FPSO ballast tank inspection. So it's getting more and more traction, not just among the users, but also with the industry regulators. They realize that the quality of the image is good enough, or it's close to what a human inspector could actually gather, with all the other benefits that we talked about.
Absolutely. I mean, if not better in some cases. So I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. So, well, as I mentioned.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, we train on the ELIOS, and we believe that in the value of the training and the competency of our pilots, enabling to perform at the optimal level when flying in confined spaces. So that's the reason behind us developing our own indoor flight simulator, so we can actually train in similar conditions, or at least not having direct line of sight with the drone, and being able actually to maneuver and operate within confined spaces.
Yeah, keeping up on like CPD and continuous training is so valuable, especially when you operate the ELIOS. You know, but ELIOS 2 and specifically.
Yeah.
And I think at this point we actually move on to Junio. So Ana, really appreciate everything you've just been through there. It truly was fantastic. And I think I have to swap over, but some really cool applications. If anybody's got any questions about them, or even just processes, or even contact details for Ana, if you are looking potentially to bring her in to do work, get in touch, stick it in the chat, and we'll make sure that Ana gets all of that information. But again, really appreciate you going through that with us. It truly was brilliant. And some of those case studies, I mean, wow, the videos would blow you away with the data quality. I think now, Junio, if I hand it over to you, do you want to take over and upload some of your slides?
I think you should be able to see them now, George.
Yeah, that's fantastic, mate. So take it away.
Thank you very much, George, and Ana. Congratulations. The footage is really impressive. I have to say, especially the leakage on the boiler was an incredible spotting. And again, I'd be curious to find out how much it would have costed to do that otherwise. So first of all, thank you, George, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I specifically changed the color of the slide deck to honor the fantastic work that you guys did with advertising this event. So very sort of Halloween feeling to this cover of the presentation. And today I'm going to talk about the Inspector 3.0, which is definitely the biggest evolution that we brought to not just to the software package of the ELIOS drone, but I think in general as a company, it's the biggest leap that we've made in terms of the quality of data that can be captured with the Flyability suite of softwares. So the reason, not to steal anything from Simon Sinek, but definitely starting with why is always a good approach, even when it comes to Inspector. And there's it's not an overstatement to say that if we had a penny for every time that a company working in underground sewers environment had asked us for data localization from either the ELIOS 1 or the ELIOS 2, we could have probably avoided a Series B altogether for fundraising. It was just one of those constants, frequently asked questions that unfortunately had an answer and always, you need to estimate it based on the velocity of the drone. You can take a look at the surroundings and estimate from there, but it was simply not possible to pinpoint at a map of the drone or the asset and say, this is where the drone is, this is where the drone is looking at, and coming back to defect spotting, this is where the leakage is occurring. It simply wasn't possible. So for the underground sector as a whole, I see a lot of people like Jim Panton in this call. He's absolutely going to love this. Everyone who works underground and it needs by law, because very often we're coming to understand from working in a lot of European markets, this is actually a requirement by the legislation to pinpoint with an accuracy of 5 to 10 meters, sometimes even less, where the defect is before you start digging. This is really going to be a game changer, and I don't use that expression lightly. The other one is actually a perfect continuation of the work that Ana has mentioned before. Imagine before with the ELIOS 2, with the ELIOS 1, or even with the ELIOS 2 now, keeping track mentally or going through hours of footage and cross-reference with the blueprint of the asset to say, okay, which boiler is this, and pre-planning everything into sort of checks and grids to say, okay, this is the burner in A1, this is the burner in A2, and it's just it's very time consuming, and a lot of the savings that are going to fly in the drone instead of scaffolding sometimes can get lost in the nitty-gritty of pointing out which one of the burners is broken, which side am I looking at, because again, we're dealing with environments where there is no GPS, there is hardly any light, and sometimes even finding a frame of reference for flying can be incredibly difficult because of the dust and because of the nature of the environment itself. So even for larger industrial applications like boiler inspections, the Helios 3, the Inspector 3.0, it's absolutely revolutionary. And by the way, I hope that you guys still can hear me and see the slide. Just a nod, George, would be good.
Yeah, you look great. You sound great, Junio. So crack on.
Awesome, thank you very much. Again, the idea is not to necessarily gather more data, because we realize that the quantity and the quality of the data that we're able to gather with Helios 2 is unprecedented. Since we removed the cage, we really open the door to way more detail. The streaming is in full HD. Very often when we try to stream the 4K resolution, when we do presentation in certain offices, they don't even have a 4K TVs that can sort of oblige the quality of the footage of the drone. So it's not really just about how much data. It's not about just how much data you can get out. It's also about the quality. It's finally being able to pinpoint where you're seeing that effect. It's about geotagging in an environment that doesn't have any GPS coordinates. And again, for inspection providers, especially like Raptor UAS, is going to make your job a lot easier. And for anyone who is investing in digital libraries and digitalization of the inspection process, this is going to fast track everything. So the idea of Inspector 3.0 is really to create data that can be visualized, localized, and documented way more easily after the inspection. We're always talking about post-processing of the information collected with the Helios 2. And perhaps one of the best news that can come to users is actually the fact that you don't need to do anything to the drone itself. It's still your old, familiar, comfortable Helios 2. We're just improving on the sensors that are already placed on top of the drone, and we're simply extracting way more information and processing more information from what it's already being gathered. So a big kudos to our engineering team. This has been a long time coming, but again, the value that you will be able to extract as a user from exactly the same footage, it's going to be 10 times in value. So here I'm gonna show a quick video about the introduction and the presentation really of Inspector 3.0, and it's gonna sort of present the key
Some
features
visual inspections are most valuable when you're able to match the data with where it belongs. Sometimes planning a repair requires knowing how much scaffolding you'll need or exactly where your team must rappel down. Sometimes you'll need to know precisely where to dig to fix this leaking sewer. Without GPS information, pinpointing inspection data on a blueprint is a real challenge. But what if this was a thing of the past? Inspector 3.0 allows you to visualize, localize, and document your inspection data. When you're done with data capture, connect your drone to your laptop, open Inspector 3.0, import selected flights, run our mapping algorithm, and create a sparse 3D model of your inspection, along with a drone trajectory, and all the points of interest you've created at inspection time. Navigate your asset and the video stream simultaneously. Find the points of interest you've captured during flight time. Review them and document what you see. Organize points of interest according to criticality level or any other tag you like. Use 2D measurement to put numbers on features. When you're happy with the outcome, simply click Export to send it to your colleagues or clients. Your report will contain every points of interest with all their data, including their position inside the asset.
So again, a bit of a bombastic video from our marketing team, but again, it goes to show in less than 2 minutes the incredible added value of the platform. I mean, summarizes very well the value proposition of the software. Now, let me just go back to the slides. You should still be able to see them.
We'll see that, mate. Brilliant video, by the way. Fantastic stuff. Where was the where was that filmed?
It was really a combination of assets, and perhaps it's a perfect segue, actually, George, into the beta program, which has been an incredible success for us. So we launched the inspector at the end of Q4 of last year, and response from the market has been terrific. We had 230 beta testers, 100 monthly active users. I mean, you can read the figures for yourself, and it just goes to show that unlike other drone companies, we're very receptive of feedback, and we're always working on improving the platform from what it is to what our clients want it to be. Again, this was at the top of the list for many people for a long time, and it took our old software engineering team a lot of time to get there, but eventually we did, and we're just very pleased and happy with the feedback that we've had from pretty much 99% of the users, and we're confident that the more people that will try, the more that the software will actually improve with your suggestions and your input. Here I included sort of some frequently asked questions, if you want, about the software. So how does it work? It basically relies on simultaneous location and mapping, specifically using VIO, visual inertial odometry. We already covered the point regarding the need to update the drone. Not really. The Inspectors 3.0 will work with exactly the same sensors, exactly the same settings that you currently have on your machine. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Helios 1 because of the cage. But again, I think this is a fantastic opportunity for me, for us, for the existing users, and hopefully for the new users to reflect on how far the product has come. So I started working for Flyability almost exactly 4 years ago, almost to the day. I hope the video is not too buggy, by the way, but this was the reality for a very long time. Like George was saying, with the cage in front of the drone, you would lose about 12 to 15% of the entire image, and very often it was hit and a miss. So again, this was just a little over 2 years ago, because I think that the Helios 2 was actually launched officially 2 years ago at the CUAV in Chicago, almost to the day. So again, it's remarkable to see how far we've come with this particular application. With this particular product. This is a quick overview of the product, the Helios 2, as you know and love it. It also packs a smaller resolution thermal camera, but it has incredible field of view. You can actually look 180 degrees, so 90 degrees upwards, 90 degrees bottoms. It makes it perfect to inspect rooftops or if to look at the bottom if you're going into a manhole for a sewer inspection. And again, the work that has gone into creating a lighting system that can even spot pitting inside tanks, it's terrific. And now we're essentially bringing it to the next level. So in the space of 2 years, we've gone in the space of 4 years. We've gone from having visual inspection and close visual inspection with Helios 1 that offered some good data to be evaluated, but no data localization whatsoever and no photogrammetry. Don't get me started on photogrammetry, because we could be here another half hour. 2 years ago, we released Helios 2, and we completely blew the market apart with finally being able to deliver 4K resolution on visual inspections and close visual inspections. We discovered the fantastic world of photogrammetry indoor. We enable 2D measurements with the inspector software as it was, but yet no data localization. This is this is sort of this is the trifecta. This is sort of the completion of a path that started 2 years ago with the release of Helios. So right now we're really able to offer everything that the clients could be asking for a drone with no GPS in confined spaces. It does provide visual inspection. It does provide close visual inspection. You've seen the quality of the footage from Ana's case studies. Not only you can do photogrammetry indoor, not only you can do 2D measurements, you can also do data localization.
It's I find it's like a perfect evolution from the Helios 1 to the Helios 2, and then the Helios 2 with that software. It really complements it. It almost makes it a completely new product as well, having that sort of data quality, because the amount of times we get asked about, creating 3D models or identifying how far you've gone, this just solves that problem completely.
That's exactly right, George. So you're finally able to essentially say, from a point of departure, considering the drone basically on a Cartesian axis of 0, 0, 0 for XYZ, you're able to say where the drone has gone for every flight. And again, in the past 3.5 months, 4 months, the beta testers have put the software through thick and thin. We've done sewer tunnels. We got boilers. A gentleman in Gotham City by the name of Bruce Wayne has inspected a bunch of caves. The results were astonishing, though confidentials. Ships. Here we go back to the hydrogen reformer that Ana presented before. Tanks are probably some of the easiest inspections. And again, the images that you see here are one part of the solution. What you see in white or in blue is basically the point cloud generated by the software. The colors are basically the trajectory of the drone, and every green point is actually a point of interest captured during the flight of the drone itself. And so this is possibly the best video that we've had so far from about the Helios 2 with used in combination with the full suite of Inspector 3.0. I don't know how good is your Korean, but this is basically an industrial scrubber, and again, this is exactly what the final use of the software, so the version of the software looks like. So you have the 4K images on your right, and on the left you have this pristine, beautiful, accurate description, representation of the asset in a point cloud with the direction the drone is looking at. And you can go back to each of the point of interest that you see highlighted in green. You can stop the image, you can perform 2D measurements, and
you just able to mute the music so we can hear you a little bit easier.
I killed the music. It should be fine now.
Okay, brilliant.
There's probably a bit of lag. I'm 136. I don't know where you're currently seeing the video. But again, it's a fantastic example of the trifecta of benefits that we're talking about before: the visual inspection, the close visual inspection, and the ability to finally being able to pinpoint and localize the data. So if I can I'll actually go back to a few more slides that I have. This is another example. This is probably one of the biggest discoveries that we've only recently made. This was really sort of a eureka moment. We've actually realized that even though in theory you're supposed to update the firmware of the drone, again, no changes to the hardware, just upgrades to the software, it appears to be retroactive. So in theory, we still have to understand the full length of how much this works with older flights. But this is an inspection that we did on a boiler already two years ago, and one of our salespeople just tried to put it through the inspector 3.0, and he was actually able to recreate the flights even from 2 years ago. For those of you that sort of that they still have data saved and want to try it out, please do let us know if it works. We were absolutely amazed because this was something that sort of wasn't really supposed to happen. It's a beautiful accident, and we're keen to explore with you how retroactive it can be. But again, this we took the images from the flight from 2 years ago, ran it through the system, asked it to map it, and it still works. So Ana, if you got any flight save that you would like that you wish you could have mapped, I think you can, and I'd be delighted to learn sort of if you could share if it works or not. And we were quite pleased with this surprise, obviously. These are just some of the endorsements that we received: the Tennessee Valley Authority, AKM, Inspect Drone, CTEC in France. Again, for the sewers, for anybody who works underground, this is a huge game changer. And for everything regarding the commercial offering, feel free to reach out to Coptrz. They will set you up with the license and an account where you can manage all the data and all serial numbers. It's basically one drone, one license per drone. So Raptor UAS will be able to basically use the same license, for instance, across all the pilots, as long as it's linked to the drone. It's exactly 6 o'clock. Couldn't have been more swift than this. Once again, thank you, George, for having me. Thank you, Ana, as always, for fantastic endorsement of our product, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Fantastic, mate. No, really impressive. And some of those videos, one of them may have been a little bit loud, but we'll address that afterwards. But it was fantastic. There was Haley even agrees the chat was going wild for a bit, giving her lots of emojis, which is a new one to me. I've not seen, which is great. But no, some really good case studies from Ana. And to be honest, let's just get straight into the Q&A, because yeah, as you say, you know, we only had an hour and we're running into that, so let's just fire some through. A big question that I did see from, and I'll just let it load, from Fraser, and it was to Ana. My computer's been a little bit slow, so if I can rephrase it, what's the biggest difficulty when flying the Helios 2? What's your biggest obstacle? What's your biggest challenge?
I could say that you cannot expect to be flying the Helios as you fly any other commercial drone. So it's a bit more challenging on the flight, not having the GPS stabilization. So we find that tendency that people that have had previous experiences with RC drones are actually more capable to do a better fly on the Helios. But I think it's just a matter of training and getting used to the drone and getting used not to actually look at the drone, which is sometimes a bit strange. But I would say that that's it. The rest is like very easy to work with.
Fantastic. So you say sort of the actual flying and getting used to the actual flying of the drone is probably the biggest challenge. Yeah, pretty exciting. And in terms of, as one for Junio, in terms of future capabilities, obviously past, essentially, and I think this is always a question we're always going to get asked: is there room for an Helios 3 anytime soon?
So basically, every engineer that worked on Inspector 3 is basically on holiday for the next 6 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. They're actually working, and they're actually working through the bugs. I'll say I'll answer like Gandhi. I think an Helios 3 would be a good idea. That's how I'm going to answer that.
Okay. For you, Ana, we did touch on what qualifications you need, and somebody's asked about having BVLOS as part of their operations manual, so going beyond visual line of sight. Have you gone down any of that light? And I mean, I'll sort of semi-answer that myself, because the CAA, because you're internal, don't have anything to do with it. But have you found that having a certain qualification like the PFGO or any sort of further teaching has been really useful for you guys?
Well, for me, it's just, as I said before, we are a drone company. We do this for a living. So we have our commercial operations, obviously, in UK, and our pilots are also qualified. So I would say that depending on the job that you are doing, if you are restricting yourself to only confined spaces and that's it, and you are not going to have to fly under any aviation authority, then there is no need for it. But I think it's always like good to be aware of what actually the drone needs to be done and how to work with work assessments and like method statements and risk assessments and how you are actually planning the job. So I think that's the part of having the commercial operation that actually brings any sense, rather than just thinking that you get the drone and you just show up on the job and you just carry on.
Absolutely. So yeah, just on that, there's, in terms of the CAA, which is the UK governing body, you don't need any qualification to fly internally. But I think what we'd all probably agree is having that qualification, the GVC or the A2, is really going to go a long way to understanding more about the general aviation worlds and the general rules around what is possible. There's a question on training on the ELIOS. Now, Junio, this is probably more sided to you guys. How important is that initial training to understand the software, understand actual flight controls of the ELIOS 2? Coptrz do a handover, so we come down and do a training and an unboxing. But how important have you found, customers all over the world, how important is that?
It's it cannot be underestimated, George, and I think that a big reason behind the success of Raptor UAS is their investment in this training facility. Like Anna correctly pointed out, drone pilots will definitely have an easier time adjusting to the beyond visual line of sight, but it still does require a different set of skills. Therefore, in terms of investment, the best investment you can make is actually on additional training packages that can be offered by Coptrz, and in training your personnel to use this really to the best of the drone's abilities. But I would go as far as saying that there is a direct proportional relationship between the commercial success that you're going to have with this and the amount of time that you put in the preparation of your people. If the expectation is simply to take a drone pilot with some experience, put him behind the sticks and make him fly in a sewer, that's not going to work. We have an incredible training program. We have an incredible training partner, which is Coptrz. Please use our experience, which is just the sum of our mistakes, and learn from the best. So I wish that every client or more clients like Raptor UAS had a dedicated training facility to train their people for this kind of assets, because it's true that the cage and the design of the drone offer room for maneuver and margin for error, but very often you don't get a second chance to make a first inspection.
And we'll go, brilliant answer, by the way. We'll go for probably a tricky one, and this is aimed at both of you guys. In the event of the drone needs to be recovered, what are the procedures? What do you put in place beforehand? And I guess this will go more into the flight, sort of flight setup, and then understanding the environment you're going into. But what could you do, and what would you do in the event of a failure, or in the event that something goes wrong in an area that you haven't explored before?
Well, for me, it's that part of I'm not risking the drone, and I'm not risking the drone not only because of the drone itself, because at the end is that tool that basically make us money. Is at the end we are a business, and that's it. But not only because of that, it's just because of the safe part of we don't know what's going to happen with the batteries. We don't know how we are going to get to retrieve it, or even if it's possible. So basically, if we cannot retrieve it, we do not fly. So we always have that emergency backup of saying, and we explain this to all of our clients, saying, okay, if we are not able to retrieve it, we are not going in with a drone. It has to be, sometimes it would be more costly, or it would be just an absolute pain actually to recover something, and we don't want to be in that position at any point, but we need to have an emergency plan. So I was emailing earlier today another potential client, and I said exactly the same. Look, we are happy to do it, but we need emergency plan, basically. So can we retrieve it? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then there is nothing that we can do for you.
Junio, anything to add to that?
I mean, just the answer of Ana, copy paste. Like, really, if there is, that's the question number one that we put on our risk assessment form whenever we're asked to do proof of concepts. If there is no possibility to retrieve the drone, can the client accept the sort of the additional cost, either for the retrieval or the replacement of the unit? In some industries like mining, that the footage can be so valuable that they're even willing to sacrifice the drone. But in the majority of cases, once you presented the plan to the client, and you conducted your risk assessment, and you've identified that there is no option for retrieval, then the mission it's a no-go. It's as simple as that.
Fantastic. Any questions we haven't addressed, or? Well, actually, we might have one more question. Yeah, we've just been through that, but I think there was one just on.
I actually would like to ask Ana, George, if I may. Yeah. Ana has possibly given the best answer to the issue of the battery life, because a lot of people are going to be sort of disappointed when they find out the battery life. Ana was skeptical about this as well, but your experience, Ana, I think it's very I think it's incredibly important to share.
Yeah, for us, I've said this before, and I also repeat it to some of our clients, new clients, when we get on. It's like, no, 10 minutes, and they look at us like in disbelief, like, that's it. And it's like, yes, but it's unbelievable the amount of data that you capture in 10 minutes, and actually the amount of flight that you can do in 10 minutes. So there is no problem at all. 10 minutes seems like it's nothing, but actually it's lifetime on a drone, really.
Absolutely. And just a second to that, when you ever do, or if you ever do fly the ELIOS 2 in confined space, it goes beyond visual line of sight. Even 5 minutes feels like a lifetime. You've got so much to think about. You're working on controlling the drone. It's not a case of sticking a phantom in the air, being able to see it and being able to just control, but you are always working. And as you say, there is a huge amount of data that you're collecting. But yeah, I think if both of you guys are happy, I think we'll end it there. It has been brilliant. Get a big thumbs up from my team. We've had some great feedback so far. This is going to go out to our entire database and everybody who's signed up, so you'll get a copy of all the videos and obviously Ana and Junio's contact details. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I know it can be quite difficult getting everything together. But it is amazing that we managed to do it. Put on a great presentation. So thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, George. You've been a fantastic moderator. Thank you, Haley. Ana, you're the best product sponsor we could ask for. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks for the great questions, and looking forward to CoptrzdCon 2.0.
Fantastic. Hopefully we can do that in person. Stay tuned, guys, because I think for the rest of the day we have got so we've got some really good case studies with how to scale a drone business, and then new to drone piloting with one of our trainers. So effectively the smaller sort of scaling up businesses. And then tomorrow we've got a cracker of a day. I'm just having a look at our day. We've got an energy summit with Sellafield, who are going to be speaking about their use of drones. ELIOS 2 is one of them. Northumbria Water, Networks 3 and 7 Trent. We're going to be looking at the Seagrass project with the Wingtra. The Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced is with myself and Mark Coleman from Geo Access. That should be a really good event. And then also, well, actually on that, we're going to be doing a live demonstration. So stay tuned, because that can go either of two ways, and I'm hoping it goes well. The Parrot Naffy is with Asif from Parrot 2. And we've got some really good stuff with the survey team. So we've got Blair joining us to talk about public safety as well. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Again, it's been a pleasure. Keep following us, and have a great week. Speak soon.